Welcome to As the Key Turns. Today, we're going to talk about an incident that happened before my time at USP Marion, like 13 years before my time, so significantly before. This is my friend here in the village. He's the son of the Amerindian people that live over there. Anyway, Eddie Griffin, who was a guy that was a bank robber, got 50 years in prison because when he robbed the bank he had to take hostages. He's a former Black Panther, and he became a prison activist, especially while at Marion, or maybe he got sent to Marion because he is a prison activist. You know, people are not too thrilled with prison activists in prison. Anyway, what happened was in 1976, on the 4th of July 1976, a hunger strike of most of the prisoners at Marion kicked off. And the reason that this happened was that for the previous 2 years, Eddie Griffin, along with Forrest Graydon and Thomas Floyd and Ed Jones and some others who collectively became known as the Marion Brothers, had organized this prison strike. And the reason that they did is they wanted a few things to change at Marion. The number one thing that they asked for, would you stop doing that? The number one thing that they asked for was that the prison hire females and minority staff. At the time, and pretty much when I worked there, at least when I worked there was no women when I started in January of 1989 downrange, meaning none of the guards, none of the staff that normally went down the range was female. They weren't allowed, and it was well into the 90s before they started hiring female correctional officers, or guards as you would call them. So that was one of his, or one of their demands. And the warden, of course, promised to hire women and minorities. It just took until, 20, 25 years later that it happened. Nothing that says the Bureau is in a hurry to do anything, right? So that occurred, and then there was specific recruiting for Hispanics and blacks when I was at Marion, because they had a real hard time, especially with Hispanics, people that spoke Spanish. They had a hard time enticing them from the Southwest to come live in Marion, because people are kind of, how would I say it, they're clannish in the area, and it's hard to assimilate into that group. I know I even had problems because I don't speak the same way they do, and it set me as an outsider. Now, when this thing kicked off, what you have to keep in mind is that they had to keep it secret for 2 years, and that's really, really difficult to do in a prison, because we hire a lot of snitches and those things, and people just want to tell on somebody so that they can gain some kind of favor from us. And the other thing was, and I've talked about this in other episodes, is they wanted the mind control experiments to stop. Now, people are like, oh, they didn't have mind control experiments. That was all made up, and it's a conspiracy theory and blah blah blah. I'm telling you for a fact, it absolutely is not a conspiracy theory. It is a fact. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch in 1977's thereabouts did a whole series in their paper about that the CIA, in fact, was involved with using the inmates as guinea pigs for behavior modification experiments. And they did that through a program that they called CARE. And let me see if I get this right. CARE was rehabilitation, care and rehabilitation effort. And it was by Dr. Edgar Shines. And he came up with the method of CARE. And basically it was using long periods of isolation followed by group therapy, and in which case you'd be humiliated, made to feel guilty, whatever it took to get you to modify your behavior. Now, when I was there in the 80s and the 90s, there was and I wouldn't call it an experiment. At this time, it seemed to be more of a method where we isolated people to modify their behavior. We still had the control unit at that time, and we still had the special housing unit, and those have been removed now, and they're out in the ADX in Colorado. But as far as I know, they're still using a similar technique for behavior modification. And apparently my guy that I know, Eddie Griffin, was subjected to in the mid-70s and early 70s. So those were his two main goals, and at least as far as the first part went, it had some limited success. And as the second part for the mind control thing, I think they stopped experimenting. I did see academics come in, but usually these academics were worried more about social conditions of the inmates and the things that Eddie Griffin would have been worried about. Now, Eddie Griffin at that time was locked up with Leonard Peltier and Raphael Kamel Miranda. And Miranda was the guy that was trying to get Puerto Rico independent, and of course Leonard Peltier is a Native American activist who's last I heard was at Leavenworth. And I would like to point out that this Eddie Griffin has written a couple of books that you may wish to read if you really want to delve into this. Breaking Men's Minds, Behavior Control, and Human Experimentation at the Federal Prison in Marion by Eddie Griffin. I would recommend that if you're really interested in this subject that you read that. Hell in a Very Small Space by Daniel Berrigan, Eddie Griffin, and the Reverend Leon White. Another book I would recommend if you want to really delve into the late 60s, early 70s prison activists seen from their side. Now, if anybody would like to purchase one of those and send it to my email for me, I would be more than glad to read them and review them. I think it would be something well worthwhile for this channel. You can send that to asthekeyturns@mail.com. It's asthekeyturns@mail.com. And if you want to write to me personally, then that would be the place to do it. Also, you can give me a donation from anywhere from $1 to $50 a month on Patreon. That's asthekeyturns at Patreon. No, it's patreon.com/asthekeyturns. Anywhere from $1 to $50, and then of course you'll get to see 4 episodes of As the Key Turns, or at least once a week, maybe even more than 4 in a month, as opposed to the 1 a month that is released to the general public on YouTube. So for just $1 you can get a lot more than you'd be getting on free on YouTube. And of course, I don't put a lot of the commercials on there. And let's see, here was another one that I thought would be a good book. Resisting Living Death at Marion Federal Penitentiary, 1972, by Alan E. Gomez. And I'd like to read it. I've read some excerpts from all these books, and they seemed really good, and I wanted to actually own one and go through it and give a book review and discuss some of the points that they make in these books from the other side, from the guard side. Yes, we're called guards by almost everybody except the people in the profession. So I'm not upset by being called a guard. Call me a guard if you want to. So I thought I would bring up this bit of history of USP Marion, where in fact we did have some organized resistance. The Committee to End the Marion Lockdown is also an organization that was a thorn in my side while I worked there. I don't know if they even exist anymore, to tell you the truth. And they protested a lot of some of the more political prisoners that we had, the prison activists, as I like to call them, like Eddie Griffin. And you can look up Eddie Griffin. He has a pretty big presence on the internet, and I would recommend that someone that wants to know about Marion would refer to some of his stuff. He lived it, so I would say that even more than me, he would be an expert on exactly what it was like to be a prisoner at Marion. I can only tell you what it was like to be a guard at Marion. And Dr. Marla Patterson can tell you what it was like to be the wife of my supervisor and chief psychologist and psychologist at USP Marion. So those are some books that you could look up. As I Live and Breathe by Dr. Marla Patterson, excellent book, recommended highly. And if you subscribe to this channel at the $10 and above level, you will get, after 3 months, you will get a e-copy, a Kindle copy of As I Live and Breathe by Dr. Marla Patterson. I like the book that much. So, thank you for watching.